Two and a Half Men aired on CBS between 2003 and 2015. The show originally starred Charlie Sheen as Charlie Harper, a hedonistic jingle writer, and Jon Cryer as Alan, Charlie's right-minded but too naive brother. Angus T. Jones played the role of Jake, Alan's gluttonous and adorable son. The story begins when Alan and Jake move in with Charlie in his beachfront Malibu house after Alan is thrown out of his home by his manipulative wife, Judith. In a day and age of sitcoms, very few shows enjoyed the kind of love and viewership that Two and a Half Men managed to achieve during its 12-year run. The show has developed a cult following, and even after going off the air in 2015, continues to be one of the most watched TV sitcoms. Of course, this adult-themed comedy has many jokes that one may find inappropriate for family viewing, but the show will surely make you chuckle often. More importantly, with each season, you'll grow along with the characters and grow more fond of them. Unlike the sitcoms of yesterday, present-day sitcoms do not have a predictable story and character development, and that works for the best. Two and a Half Men kept audiences laughing for 12 years. However, the behind-the-scenes story wasn't the same. The cast and crew members didn't always get along well. Many controversies surrounded this show. After all, when you have Charlie Sheen playing the lead, controversies are bound to happen. Facts Verse presents On-Set Controversies of Two and a Half Men. Before we give you the dirt and gossip, like and subscribe to our channel. To stay updated about all our latest videos, press the bell icon. Cryer always tried his best to make Charlie see logic in difficult situations. Staying true to his on-screen persona, Jon Cryer always tried his best to make Charlie Sheen see the logic in situations he found irritating and annoying. It turns out that in real life, the two actors are very similar to their on-screen characters. While Charlie Sheen is quick to react like Charlie Harper, Jon Cryer is calm and patient, much like Alan. Cryer once broke up with a girl because she had dated Charlie Sheen. We're certain that men have some secret code of ethic that stops them from dating their friend's ex. It is therefore no surprise Jon Cryer once broke up with a girl because she had dated Charlie Sheen in the past. Cryer looked up to Sheen for relationship advice. Cryer and Sheen got along really well, especially during the first few seasons when Charlie was sober and still married to Denise Richards. This was a time when Cryer actually trusted Charlie Sheen for advice on relationships and often discussed his dating life with Sheen. Surprising, isn't it? Before we tell you about how and why Charlie Sheen once spent a Christmas night in jail, we want to remind you to like and subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to stay updated about our latest videos. Charlie Sheen spent a Christmas in jail. In 2009, when he was still a part of the Two and a Half Men cast, Charlie Sheen spent Christmas in jail. Sheen and his then-wife, Brooke Allen, began their Christmas morning with an early round of booze. Sometime during the day, Sheen lost control and grabbed his wife by the throat and pushed her. Brooke Allen made a frantic call to the police and reported assault, and Charlie was put behind bars. That's why they say never start drinking too early in the day. Sheen once offered to pay an ex an exorbitant amount of money just to shut up. Sheen has done a lot of questionable things in his life, and some of them are capable of ruining his career. The public knows only a small portion of these things, and of course, Sheen wants things to remain that way. It's thus not very surprising that Charlie Sheen once offered to pay an ex an exorbitant amount of money just to keep her mouth shut and not spread any more rumors about him. Despite everything, Charlie Sheen got a raise. Charlie Sheen's latter years on Two and a Half Men were filled with controversies. The show's producers were therefore rather surprised when Charlie Sheen asked for a big raise in spite of everything that was being said about him in the media. The funny thing is, Charlie Sheen did end up getting a raise. Hollywood Reporter reported that though Sheen didn't get the raise he was expecting, he did get a raise nonetheless. And then Charlie Sheen called Chuck Lorre a clown. Chuck Lorre has given us some amazing sitcoms over the years, including Modern Family and Big Bang Theory. He's also one of the most successful modern-day television producers. However, Chuck's elaborate resume and successes weren't enough to elicit respect from Sheen, who once called Lorre a clown because he didn't agree with him. And then he went up against Ashton Kutcher, too. Charlie Sheen's attitude and his hundreds of different controversies were in every way responsible for the actor being ousted from Two and a Half Men. However, when it was finally announced that Ashton Kutcher would be taking on Charlie Sheen's role, Sheen could not take it, and he lashed out at Kutcher. But Kutcher didn't stay quiet and decided to give it back to Charlie Sheen fully. Sheen shared his girlfriend's photos with other cast members. Charlie Sheen has never pretended to be your normal, committed good guy. However, many things he did or does still continue to surprise his fans. One such thing was sharing questionable photos of his girlfriends. In an interview, Cryer told Ranker that Sheen wouldn't show entire pictures of his girlfriends, just pictures of parts of them. That's certainly questionable behavior. Cryer and Sheen were originally cast in each other's role. 2.5 Men registered many controversies throughout its 12-year run, and though critics have found many faults in the show, they can't fault its casting. Both Cryer and Sheen perfectly fit their roles. However, you'll be surprised to know that Cryer was initially offered Sheen's role and vice versa. Alan's hair was not real. In the series, Alan is often seen setting his hair. In truth, Alan's hair was fake throughout the show. Daily Mail once reported that for Alan, the makeup team used hair that could be painted on like shoe polish. Charlie Sheen is a gifted actor. The king of controversy is always in the news for some of the other bad news. Unfortunately, these controversies draw the light away from the good things about Charlie Sheen. One such good thing is that Charlie Sheen excels at memorizing lines. You give Sheen whatever lines, and irrespective of how complicated they are to learn, he'll say them word for word and beat by beat if he wants to. But he was very difficult to work with, especially towards the end. Somewhere in the middle of 2.5 Men, Charlie Sheen hit rock bottom and was in no control of his life. During this period, Sheen created quite a ruckus on set one day when he refused to get up from the couch and complete a shot. At one point, he wanted his salary to be $3 million per episode. Remember we told you Sheen got a raise even after everything he did outside of his work life? Well, that raise wasn't enough for Sheen. Ranker reported he demanded the show's producers and creators increase his salary to $3 million. Of course, the producers denied it. And he refused to do the finale because he didn't agree with the writers. We also told you Sheen's bad attitude was responsible for him being ousted from the show. Sheen refused to do the season finale simply because he didn't like the script that the show's writers had written and wanted it to be rewritten to include his suggestions. That is the height of unprofessionalism. Charlie Sheen's loss was Ashton Kutcher's gain. Ashton Kutcher is a brilliant comedian, but filling in Charlie Sheen's shoes is not an easy job. In any case, when Ashton Kutcher took on Charlie's role in 2.5 Men, he had no plans to make the audience forget Charlie Sheen. Since the very beginning, Kutcher was quite open about the fact that he did the show because it fetched him good money. Well, all actors do some gigs in their life just for the money. So, a smart decision, Ashton Kutcher. Angus T. Jones asked people to avoid the show. Angus T. Jones was 10 years old when he was cast in 2.5 Men. He was a kid and didn't fully understand the show. However, as he grew old, he began to realize the show wasn't a great watch for kids and sometimes even adults, which is why he asked people to avoid the show. In 2014, calling himself a paid hypocrite, Angus T. Jones formally resigned from the show and only appeared for a small cameo in the final season. Throughout its 12-year run, the show may have stayed mired in controversies, but the truth is, even with all the controversies, 2.5 Men still has a cult following and is one of the most watched shows. It's funny, and it's hard not to fall in love with the characters, even with all their flaws. And though Kutcher did a fine job as Walden, there's no denying no one could have played Charlie Harper better than Charlie Sheen did.
Cryer helped hide Charlie's drugs. Co-stars have to have each other's back, but Cryer went above and beyond for Sheen for far longer than he should have. Not only did he have to help him remember his lines when he was too messed up during filming, but according to some sources, he also helped hide Sheen's drug stash whenever Sheen's ex-wife would visit. Hugh Grant almost replaced Charlie. Once it had become crystal clear that Sheen wouldn't be returning to the show for the 9th season, the future of the series was up in the air. The show was too popular to call it quits, and some of the producers felt the show couldn't have kept going, with Jon Cryer's Alan going solo. As we all know, Ashton Kutcher ended up being Sheen's replacement, but the role almost went to Hugh Grant. Grant told Howard Stern a few years back that he had been approached by the show's producers and was offered $1 million per episode. While that offer was tempting, he ultimately declined as they wanted him to sign a contract before any scripts had been written. Grant wasn't willing to commit to anything without seeing on paper exactly what they had in mind for his role. Sheen's Vegas moment surprised Cryer. We all know Charlie Sheen and Las Vegas go together like fries and ketchup, but according to Cryer, their trip together to Vegas turned out much more tame than anyone expected. Instead of hitting up the strip and getting himself into trouble, as soon as Sheen's plane landed in Sin City, he simply made his way to his room and hit the hay for a nap. Before we tell you more about the secrets of 2.5 Men, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Sheen offered a woman a ton of money to keep her mouth shut. As everyone knows, Sheen has done his fair share of questionable things, but nothing compares to his messy relationship problems. At one point, during the actor's notorious downward spiral, he got in touch with one of his exes who was spreading what he deemed to be false rumors about him and the way he allegedly treated her, and offered to pay her thousands of dollars to stop. Angus T. Jones's dark family secrets. Jones is known for playing the hysterically funny yet dim-witted kid on 2.5 Men. His character, Jake, is the son of Alan and Charlie's nephew. While most of you are probably familiar with his television role, you might not know about the dark family secrets he tried to keep from going public. His uncle, Eric Eugene Claypool, once shot a man that he alleged abused him as a teen. Because of this, he's now serving a 99-year prison sentence. Both of Jones's parents got into hot water with the law as well. Angus's mother, Carrie Jones, ran into legal trouble in 1992 when she aggressively ripped out a cab driver's meter and assaulted a police officer while heavily intoxicated. She was later arrested for burglary after a woman found her in her living room wearing her boyfriend's clothes. Carrie had her husband arrested in 1997 when she accused him of pulling her out of a car and assaulting her. Angus's dad was previously arrested in 1986 for possession of an unlicensed firearm. Love triangles. While filming the series, John Cryer and his wife Sarah Trigger got divorced. This was in 2014. Feeling despondent after the split, he eventually decided to get back into the dating game again. It didn't take him long to meet a woman he wanted to date. Cryer then introduced his girlfriend to his co-star, Charlie Sheen. After the two met, things got a little awkward when she claimed to know him already. Sheen initially denied ever seeing the woman before in his life, but that turned out to be a lie. It turns out Cryer's girl and Sheen had slept together in the past. When Cryer found out, he immediately broke off the relationship. Charlie couldn't hold himself together on set. When things started unraveling in Sheen's turbulent personal life, he was drinking non-stop and doing lots of drugs. Naturally, this resulted in a great deal of drama that took a considerable toll on his professional life. When it was time to film episodes of the sitcom, Charlie could barely manage to get it together on set. He had fallen to such a low point, he barely resembled the respected actor he once was at the outset of the series. He would stumble over his words and butcher his lines while not remembering where he was supposed to be on set. The situation was a pathetic mess. People started to notice Charlie was struggling and tried to get him to get help, but of course his enormously inflated ego prevented him from taking their sound advice. Lorre was called a clown. Chuck Lorre is one of the most successful television producers of all time. Some of his other notable works include The Big Bang Theory and Modern Family. Clearly, this is a man who knows what he's doing when it comes to developing hit TV shows. Sheen, however, wasn't very impressed. At one point, he called Lorre a clown. The two butted heads on set all the time over creative decisions, and Sheen refused to give the esteemed producer the respect he was due. Cryer's hair was completely fake. Cryer's character's hair was not what it seemed to be. While it might have looked natural, the Daily Mail reported that the hair seen in the show was actually painted on. Apparently, his do was applied like shoe polish with a protective layer slathered on top to keep it from smudging. Sheen refused to get off the couch one day. We've talked about Sheen's wild on-set antics and drug abuse issues, but one story that epitomizes the actor's notorious downward tailspin comes straight from Cryer. According to him, Sheen was at one point so intoxicated and so far gone he refused to do his blocking and instead spent the entire day laying on the couch. Sheen and Cryer swapped roles. Actors often get cast in roles that are totally unlike who they are in real life. But in this case, the parts that Sheen and Cryer respectively played got switched around to better suit their personalities. After producers realized Cryer was naturally suited for the part he ultimately stuck with, it was decided they should do the old switcheroo. Ultimately, Sheen was a much better fit in the role we finally saw him in as well. Of course, as time went on, he was no longer an ideal fit for either role, and he had to go. Kutcher only did it for the money. Most people will at some point in their lives take a job solely for the money. Actors are no different. Everyone needs to pay the bills. In recent years, Ashton Kutcher has been very open about the fact that the only reason he took the 2.5 Men job was for the paycheck. That being said, he gave a good performance for a guy only in it for the money.
Health. Ferrell's health had taken for the worse more than a year before she passed. Her health began deteriorating in December when she was at her Charleston, West Virginia holiday home. She was weak, and doctors subsequently diagnosed her with a kidney infection, which had spread to a point where her blood was contaminated. Ferrell was hospitalized, and she stayed in the ICU for several weeks. Once released, Ferrell went back to her holiday home. Her recent ailments had left her bedridden, so she was undergoing physiotherapy several times daily. Not a month later, she was back on her feet and back in Los Angeles. In a statement, Ferrell said she was unsure how she developed the kidney infection and was surprised her health took such a drastic hit, seeing how she rarely fell ill. She even went on to say she looked forward to getting in front of the camera once she had recovered some more. Ferrell added that husband Anderson was there by her side throughout the hospital and recovery, even though he's not someone to take care of things usually. But in May, Ferrell was again in the deep end. Her new ailment was connected to her earlier infection, and she was moved to an ICU. But things took a turn for the worse, and she suffered from cardiac arrest only a couple of days after she was shifted into the ICU. Doctors were able to stabilize her, but she had to remain there for about 4 weeks before she was moved to transitional care. Ferrell stayed at a special treatment center for long-term care where she was on a respirator and received dialysis treatment. She remained semi-conscious in a state where she was somewhat aware of her surroundings, but mostly unable to communicate. Moreover, with the COVID-19 outbreak, Anderson and the rest of her family were unable to visit. When asked about her condition and recovery, Anderson said the problem was neurological, and recovery was a long way to go. He added nothing the doctors or anything could do would speed it up, other than to hope for the best. After a year of being in and out of hospitals and care facilities, she passed away on October 12th, among family and friends, at the age of 77. Even though Ferrell has portrayed many roles on the big and small screen, it was almost so that most of us may not have recognized her today. Her most loved role as Berta on 2.5 Men almost didn't happen, and it was a stroke of luck that she bagged the role, which was only supposed to be for 2 episodes. Even though the show is based on the train wreck that is the lives of Charlie, Alan, and Jake Harper, many fans agree Berta plays a big part in the show. Her wit and comic timing make her small appearances something to look forward to. 2.5 Men was a major hit with the original cast, and audiences were disappointed to see Charlie Sheen go. But his exit was inevitable after he publicly insulted producer Chuck Lorre. To be fair, Sheen had a number of bad behavior instances on and off the set before that as well. Before we move on to Ferrell's career and other lesser-known facts about her, be sure to take a moment to hit the like button if you're enjoying the video and subscribe to our channel for more. Career. Ferrell has played an assortment of roles over the course of her long career. The young Ferrell was expected to emerge as a TV star, and although that did come true, it wasn't in a leading role. Even though she mostly played small roles, you can't deny she was exceptionally talented. Her acting career took off with Landorf Wilson's 1973 play The Hot L Baltimore. She performed for the same title in 1975 in a series produced by Norman Lear. Even though the play was a hit, the TV series failed to woo audiences. Ferrell was an equally accomplished supporting actor on the big and small screens, having portrayed many roles in eminent productions over the years. Her debut was a one-time appearance on CBS's Maude. In terms of performance, she arguably delivered her best in The Seahorse, an off-Broadway play for which she won the Drama Desk Award, the Theatre World Award, and the Obie Award. She was seen on the small screen in Maude, Knots Landing, and LA Law, and on the big screen in Heartland and True Romance. In recent years, other than 2.5 Men, she was seen in the 2020 film The Deported and the 2018 film A Very Nutty Christmas. Awards and recognition. Other than the 3 awards for the off-Broadway play The Seahorse, Ferrell, along with the rest of the cast, also received a Western Heritage Award for Heartland in 1981. Her recurring role on L.A. Law got her a nomination for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series at the Primetime Emmy Awards in '92. She was nominated for the same category twice again for Berta's role in 2005 and 2007, but again the award was not destined for her. She did win an award for 2.5 Men, albeit a bit later. In 2009, she received the Future Classic Award, along with the rest of the cast, on the TV Land Awards. It's sad she didn't win an award for specifically her role on the show. After all, she was a part of the cast from day one and starred in a whopping 212 episodes. If you've seen the show, you know an award was well-deserved for her portrayal of the witty Berta. Personal life. Conchata Ferrell was born March 28, 1943, to Luther Martin and Mescal Lorraine Ferrell in Loudondale, West Virginia. The Ferrells stayed in Charleston, West Virginia for most of her childhood, before moving to Circleville, Ohio. She attended West Virginia University for 2 years before dropping out. After that, she took up several jobs to support herself. Later, she graduated from Marshall University, where she delivered her first stage performance as part of Barfanon Review, a skit in 1969. In 1986, she married Arnie Anderson, with whom she never separated. The couple has a daughter together, Samantha, and she was a stepmother to Anderson's 2 daughters, Lisa and Caitlin, from a previous marriage. Conchata suffered from type 2 diabetes and struggled with weight gain throughout her life. Her sudden weight loss in recent years garnered a lot of media attention. Ferrell was warm and friendly on set. She was especially very good friends with co-star Angus T. Jones, who played Jake Harper on 2.5 Men. The two bonded over their love for reading and gaming. That's right, she loved gaming, especially role-play games. She also enjoyed writing children's poetry. Talk about diverse interests. Berta's role almost didn't happen. Ferrell's most recognized role, Berta, almost didn't happen. Show producers had someone else with an Eastern European accent in mind for the role. When Ferrell went for the audition, she explained she could do a Russian or Polish accent, but she wanted to stick to her ethnicity for the role. Ferrell felt the kind of a character they had in mind would be portrayed best as a trailer park than anything else. Chuck Lorre, the show's producer, was on board with the plan, and Berta came on. What's more, Berta's role was originally meant to be only for 2 episodes, but as luck would have it, she became part of the core cast. Regarding her long-standing portrayal of Berta, Ferrell said she loved her character. She said Berta is the kind of person everyone wants to be, someone who can speak her mind without any fear. Conchata Ferrell achieved much success in an understated way. Although she didn't play leading roles, all of her supporting roles were quite diverse and quite loved. Her career spanned almost 5 decades, throughout which she played a plethora of characters, mostly as one-time appearances. If you haven't seen her on screen yet, we suggest you get cracking on any of the episodes from 2.5 Men. She was pretty much a regular. One of the best episodes with Berta is Camel Filters and Pheromones, Season 1, Episode 12.
The early years. Jon Cryer fondly recalls the initial few seasons working with Charlie Sheen on 2.5 Men. When the show premiered on CBS in 2003, Sheen had steadfastly maintained his sobriety for 2 years, and he was determined to continue on a path of clean living. Cryer describes the vibe in those early years as an incredible joy, with great camaraderie on set and smooth-flowing production. Cryer had been impressed by Sheen's innate comedic timing and performance skills, musing that his talents seemed genetically programmed into his body. As Alan Harper, the fidgety chiropractor, moving in with his swinging bachelor brother, Jon Cryer proved the perfect foil to showcase Sheen's crass but charming character, Charlie. Their yin-yang energy and contrasting personalities provided endless fodder for laughs. Reviews and ratings were stellar right out of the gate as the premise resonated with viewers enamored of this twist on the classic odd couple dynamic. In interviews later on, Cryer spoke warmly about the supportive working atmosphere Sheen facilitated during production. There was a lively, spirited mood on set amongst cast and crew, no doubt attributable to the star power and professionalism of veteran actors like Cryer and Sheen. While Sheen did have a reputation for partying back in the day, he took the responsibility of leading a hit primetime sitcom seriously. His previous roles had won acclaim, but carrying an ensemble cast was new territory. But Sheen eased into the part smoothly, his turns as jingle writer Charlie Harper earning him 4 Emmy nods. With able support from co-stars like Cryer, those first few seasons represented 2.5 Men firing on all cylinders. Signs of trouble brewing. Though the early seasons represented sunny skies, Jon Cryer noticed some small signs of trouble on the horizon following Sheen's bitter 2006 divorce. Sheen remained thoroughly professional and timely, arriving on set each week. However, Cryer detected subtle personality changes in his co-star. Incidents like Sheen suddenly taking issue with certain jokes or scripts he had previously approved seemed out of character and mildly concerning. While far from problematic behavior, Cryer sensed something possibly brewing under the surface in Sheen's personal life. In later interviews, Cryer identified this period, around 2006 to 2010, as the beginning stages of the unpredictable behavior that led to Sheen's eventual firing. At the time, Cryer likely chalked the script issues to normal creative disagreements. But in hindsight, he connected the dots to identify the initial red flags preceding Sheen's public tailspin. Things grew more tense in 2010 when Sheen entered rehab as a, quote, preventative measure, forcing 2.5 Men to halt production. After resuming, another rehab stint arose months later in 2011, following bizarre interviews where Sheen seemingly admitted drug abuse. During this second hiatus, Sheen levied sharp public criticism at creator Chuck Lorre, setting in motion the disastrous falling out, culminating in termination from his iconic role. The spectacular implosion. When Charlie Sheen was officially dismissed from 2.5 Men in early 2011, Jon Cryer figured the show was finished for good. Having lost its central star and primary plot generator, Cryer couldn't initially see a viable path forward. The media spectacle surrounding Sheen's firing also created doubt whether viewers would accept a Sheenless incarnation of what many considered the Charlie Harper show. But the show did remarkably endure for 4 more seasons, with new co-lead Ashton Kutcher. Though ratings declined over time from the Charlie-era heyday, the sitcom enjoyed several more years of successful viewership. In radio interviews after his dismissal, a defiant Sheen labeled Cryer a traitor. This criticism signaled irreparable damage between the two former friends. In recent comments, Cryer admits he hasn't spoken to Sheen in years and semi-jokingly doubts Sheen has his number anymore. Though Sheen later reconciled with Chuck Lorre, fences clearly remain broken with Cryer. Looking back with perspective. As time passes, Jon Cryer can look back on 2 distinct eras working alongside Charlie Sheen. In recent interviews, he reminisced fondly about the 2.5 Men years early on when, quote, life with Charlie Sheen was great. For those first few seasons, it was a wildly creative period filled with joy and production that went smoothly. At a clip of more than 20 episodes every year, the pace was demanding, but the atmosphere on set was still light and fun. And his tone shifted when discussing the later turbulent years. After those subtle early warning signs, things clearly went off the rails heading into 2011. Cryer is happy to hear Sheen has recovered to a healthier personal place in the aftermath of that meltdown period. Many only see the spectacular flaming out, but Cryer witnessed some of the early cracks and fault lines beneath the surface. Looking back, Cryer sympathizes with how tricky the situation became for all involved. When your lead star is battling addiction and mental health hurdles, it creates domino effects across the production. Cryer remains proud of their groundbreaking show and Sheen's undeniable talent, but he also acknowledges the behind-the-scenes turmoil attached to Sheen left lasting scars on personal friendships and professional relationships within the 2.5 Men family. Reunion possibilities. When asked about potential reboot prospects, Jon Cryer doesn't dismiss it outright, but expresses some skepticism. Considering their epic history together, the door perhaps shouldn't be closed to ever re-pairing Sheen and Cryer. But Cryer hesitates about significantly working closely alongside Sheen, given the wounds from the past that might still sting. One-off cameo situations aren't fully off the table, but side-by-side carrying another show for years on end again, Cryer seems pretty unsure that marriage could be successfully reconsummated after such a bitter Hollywood divorce years back. And a full high-stakes reboot involving heavy creative collaboration would carry risk even under the best circumstances. And the volatile history between Cryer and Sheen plants further seeds of doubt. The legacy of a hit show. Despite the sometimes messy behind-the-scenes drama, 2.5 Men remains one of the most successful sitcoms ever. For an impressive 12 seasons and 262 episodes, the show is a pillar of CBS's primetime lineup and a ratings behemoth. At its peak viewership, over 17 million audience members tuned in, an unheard-of number in today's fractured media landscape. Much of that early success stems from the legendary chemistry between Charlie Sheen and Jon Cryer. Storylines mined the comedic goldmine for 8 seasons worth of hilarity around their characters' contrasting worldviews and bonded yet dysfunctional relationship. And even through the transition to Ashton Kutcher, the show enjoyed a successful second act. Therapist transformation. Let's kick things off with a peculiar change concerning one of the show's supporting characters. In the initial episodes, Charlie's therapist was portrayed as a quirky professional specializing in child therapy. But as the series went on, not only did her personality undergo a noticeable transformation to showcase a dry sense of humor, but her specialization seemed to have taken a 180-degree turn. She transitioned from being Jake's child therapist to becoming Charlie's go-to for adult therapy sessions, an adjustment that isn't just a mere flick of a switch in the real world. Unsteady set walls. In the intricate world of set design, sometimes things can get a little shaky, literally. In the episode titled My Doctor Has a Cow Puppet, viewers were in for a surprise. As Rose manages to startle Charlie, the ensuing chaos reveals a little secret of the set. As Charlie bumps into a wall, audiences can see the entire wall wobble, shattering the illusion of the sturdy house interior and giving viewers a glimpse of the behind-the-scenes mechanisms. Jake's evolving intelligence. Jake's on-screen portrayal underwent a significant transformation as the series progressed. In the initial seasons, he was depicted as a relatively bright student whose academic struggles were attributed to the separation of his parents rather than a lack of intellect. But as the seasons rolled on, Jake seemed to lose his knack for academics, particularly math. This decline culminates in a rather hilarious scene in the 11th season where Jake confuses the letter O in the word million for a zero, a far cry from the bright student we met in the earlier seasons. The Great Book Swap. Sometimes it's the minor details that escape the vigilant eyes of the show's creators. One instance can be found right in the pilot episode, where Alan is seen having a conversation with his mother. As the scene transitions, eagle-eyed viewers might notice a sudden change in the pile of books beside Alan. Initially, a stack of 4 books with a white one on top is visible, but a blink later, the stack morphs into a larger collection with a prominent black textbook commanding the top spot. The Mia parental paradox. Here we'll address a continuity glitch involving Charlie and Mia's relationship dynamics. In earlier interactions, it was strongly implied that Charlie had already met both of Mia's parents. However, a later scene throws this fact into a whirlpool of confusion, as Mia introduces Charlie to her father as if they were meeting for the first time. This inconsistency left viewers scratching their heads. The missing half man. As things moved towards the conclusion of 2.5 Men, the 12th season sought to recapture its original magic by having Walden and Alan foster a child, signifying the half man in the series title. But in a perplexing turn of events, this newly introduced character is conspicuously absent during the grand finale, not even earning a mention save for a fleeting line. It leaves viewers pondering the essence of the half man in the closing chapter of this long-running series. Charlie's magical pour. One of the remarkable quirks about Charlie's character is his perpetual penchant for a drink, almost eternally spotted with a glass in hand, as if completing a particular portrait of nonchalant indulgence. But in an amusing display of on-screen magic, during the second episode of Season 2, Charlie seems to defy the basic principles of fluid mechanics, pouring a drink from a can that astonishingly remains sealed throughout the process. The curious case of Bridget and Herb's sister. Throughout the series, we encounter an intriguing situation where Herb's sister marks her appearance as Charlie's fleeting romance in the initial seasons. The plot thickens when, in the 9th season, Bridget, Walden's ex-wife, steps into the spotlight as a main character.
bearing a striking resemblance to Herb's sister, not only physically but also in her mannerisms. Curiously, this uncanny resemblance remains an unaddressed mystery, leaving viewers pondering the possible connection. The Herb-Greg conundrum. Adding to the roster of quirky little Herb-related inconsistencies is the peculiar case of Herb himself, who seems to undergo a touch of an identity crisis as the series progresses. Initially known as Greg, the character evolves, or rather transmutes, into Herb over time, with no explanation to bridge the gap between the two personas. Despite sharing a profession and a last name, the transformation remains unexplained. Banana memory lapse. Let's pause for a moment to journey back to another amusing inconsistency involving Alan and his relationship with bananas. In the 22nd episode of Season 3, Alan remarks that he has abstained from eating bananas since his high school years. This statement quickly falls apart when considering Alan's on-screen snacking habits from the previous season, where he was vividly seen enjoying bananas on multiple occasions. Double Door debacle. The charm of 2.5 Men often lies in its humor sprouting from awkward moments. In a slightly puzzling scene from the second season's 4th episode, keep your eyes peeled on Charlie as he exits a room with Jake, following a brief encounter with Alan and Judith in a compromising position. In a bizarre sequence, Charlie seems to shut the door not once, but twice from 2 different angles. Breaking the fourth wall, quietly. As the series approached its inevitable end, it seems the writers loosened their grip on the reins, allowing characters to shatter the fourth wall with increased frequency. These blatant breaks, often paired with a descent into lowbrow humor, oddly went unacknowledged by other characters, creating a somewhat disjointed viewing experience. Alan's mysterious financial flip-flop. In a rather astonishing narrative flip, we find Alan abandoning his work life after discovering a nest egg set aside for Jake's education, enabling him to retire and enjoy a carefree existence. But this retirement is abruptly reversed in the subsequent episode, with Alan suddenly reverting to his industrious ways without any explanation. The recurring faces of new characters. The series drew considerable criticism for its allegedly misogynistic portrayal of female characters, often dressing them in revealing attire, and more oddly, utilizing the same actresses to portray various roles across different seasons. Notably, the character Chelsea appears initially as a fleeting romance for Charlie, before later cementing her place as a main character, her earlier appearances oddly overlooked as the series progressed. Charlie's wavering decision on Alan's residency. A running subplot involves Charlie's indecisiveness about letting Alan live with him. Initially resistant to ejecting Alan at Mia's behest, Charlie undergoes a sudden change of heart, igniting a desire to remove Alan from his heart without a clear rationale, indicative of a continuity lapse in the script that adds to the list of quirky inconsistencies. Conchata Ferrell. Conchata Ferrell, who played the memorable and highly lovable Berta on 2.5 Men, was one of the show's most consistent stars. Even though she was initially only supposed to be a short-term character, Ferrell brought so much humor and humanity to Berta, she became a fan favorite throughout the show's 12 seasons. By the time the series ended, most fans had come to care about Berta a great deal, despite the fact that little was ever revealed about her character. Ferrell's take on the role was completely different from what the show's producers had envisioned. In fact, during her audition, the producers wanted Berta to be a quote-unquote ethnic character with an Eastern European accent, but Ferrell decided to use her own voice instead. As a result, she impressed the show's co-creator, Chuck Lorre, with her portrayal of a trailer park person so much he decided to keep her on for the entire series. Thanks to her time on the show, Ferrell made a significant amount of money. By the time the show ended, she was being paid $150,000 per episode. If she only received that salary for the final 16 eps, she would have made $2.4 million. But since she appeared in a total of 211 episodes, it's clear the show made her very rich. In fact, at the time of her passing in 2020, her estate was worth $10 million. While some of that money came from other projects she worked on, the majority of it undoubtedly came from her time on 2.5 Men. It's a testament to her talent and hard work that she was able to turn what was supposed to be a 2-part arc into a long and successful career. Sadly, she passed away on October 12, 2020 at age 77 after going into cardiac arrest at Sherman Oaks Hospital in Los Angeles. She had been facing health issues since 2019 and was relocated to a long-term care facility in July of 2020 after suffering a heart attack. Previously, in December 2019, she'd been hospitalized for a life-threatening kidney and blood infection. Following her death, Ferrell's former co-stars and other celebrities paid tribute to her on social media. Jon Cryer, who played Alan Harper, expressed his sadness and admiration for Ferrell, tweeting, "She was a beautiful human. Berta's gruff exterior was merely an invention of the writers. Chatty's warmth and vulnerability were her real strength." Holland Taylor. Holland Taylor is a well-known veteran actress who captivated viewers with her portrayal of Evelyn Harper, Charlie and Alan's mother, on 2.5 Men. Despite being a character who only ever showed up every now and then, she quickly won over fans with her memorable and hilarious performances. While she didn't appear in every episode, her estimated salary per episode was around $75,000, a respectable sum for her supporting role. It's unclear whether her pay increased or decreased as the show went on, but it's known it at least remained relatively steady. However, her appearances became less frequent as the show progressed, leaving fans yearning for more of her scene-stealing moments. Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen's portrayal of Charlie Harper was undeniably iconic despite his controversial exit from the show. As the highest-paid cast member, the series revolved around his character's antics as a wealthy jingle writer who lived life to the fullest. Sheen initially received a whopping $800,000 per episode, which later increased to a staggering $1.8 million per episode, amounting to $100 million per season. But his tenure on the show was cut short after a disagreement with the creator, and he was soon fired. Despite his lucrative deal on 2.5 Men and past acting success, today Sheen's estimated net worth is only $10 million. Unfortunately, it seems he's lost most of his once great fortune due to reckless spending, fueled by his wild and uninhibited lifestyle. Ashton Kutcher. When she quickly became the highest-paid cast member on the show, earning an impressive $700,000 an episode. He's also a successful venture capitalist with investments in several Fortune 500 companies. All of this has led to an estimated net worth of $200 million for the talented actor and businessman. Angus T. Jones. Angus T. Jones made a name for himself as one of the highest-paid child actors in the history of television. As a lovable troublemaker, Jake, he started off strong with a generous signing bonus and quickly escalated to earning over $200,000 an episode. By the time he left the show, he was earning $300,000. Jones's success was unparalleled, especially for someone so young. He became a fan favorite for his portrayal of his charmingly mischievous character. Even so, he bid farewell to the glitz and glamour of Hollywood in 2013. He left the show after undergoing a religious transformation, which caused him to denounce the series as filth. He later expressed regret for his remarks and made a cameo in the show's final episode in 2015. Since then, he has mostly stayed out of the spotlight, focusing on his studies at the University of Colorado Boulder. He did, however, make a brief return to acting in 2016 with a role in the web series Horace and Pete, created by Louis C.K. Maren Hinkle. Maren Hinkle portrayed the unlikable character of Judith Harper on the show, Alan's selfish and unpleasant ex-wife. Her character was a regular part of the show from seasons 1 to 9, and then became a recurring character in seasons 10 to 12. Hinkle is also known for her performances on other shows like ABC's Once and Again and Amazon's The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Her time on 2.5 Men earned her a sizable salary of approximately $500,000 per episode during her regular stint on the show. She appeared in around 100 episodes, bringing her a significant amount of money. Her current estimated net worth is $3 million. Jon Cryer. Jon Cryer is a well-established actor who rose to fame for his roles in popular movies like Superman 4 and Pretty in Pink. But he became a top star when he joined the cast of 2.5 Men as Alan Harper, the unlucky brother of Charlie Harper, who finds himself broke and homeless after going through a messy divorce. Despite not being the highest-paid cast member, Cryer still earned a hefty paycheck. He started off with a salary of around $550,000 an episode, which later increased to $620,000. With a net worth of approximately $70 million, Cryer has certainly made a name for himself in the industry. He continued to act after the show in various projects, mostly on television, appearing in shows like NCIS, The Ranch, Will and Grace, and Supergirl. He also voiced characters in animated films such as Justice League vs. Teen Titans and The Death of Superman. Melanie Lynskey. The exact figures on Melanie's salary during her tenure are not clear, but sources suggest she began earning approximately $200,000 an episode. As her character Rose became more popular and appeared in more episodes, it's likely her salary increased. Lynskey earned a considerable amount from her recurring role, and her portrait of the charming yet deranged Rose left a lasting impression on fans of the series. His co-star talks about how he got off the rails. Jon Cryer, who played Alan Harper on the sitcom, has reflected on his experiences working with Charlie. Cryer had fond memories of working with Sheen during the early years. Sheen was sober for the first 2 years, and Cryer noted that this helped him play the role of Charlie Harper smoothly for the first 5 years of the show. Cryer spoke about how great Sheen was at performing in front of a live audience, and sometimes how he looked up to him. But things changed in the later years when Sheen began to experience personal struggles. Cryer noted that Sheen was still lovely to work with, showed up on time, and knew his lines, even though he was going through a divorce. When Sheen began to have issues with the writing and the show's co-creator, Chuck Lorre, things started to go off the rails. Cryer said that although they noticed some of the changes in Sheen's behavior, they considered it subtle and unalarming. It took a while before things escalated. His behavior continued to deteriorate, including making problematic statements and engaging in a public feud with Chuck Lorre. Cryer and Lorre discussed ending the show as they felt it wasn't worth continuing if it enabled Sheen to harm himself. Cryer also revealed that when Sheen was fired from the program, the first thought amongst the cast and crew was that the show was done. He was written out of the show. In the early production stages of Season 2, production was paused due to Charlie's drug and alcohol-related incidents. According to Reuters, Sheen attended rehab and production was slated to resume in February 2011. But 2.5 Men's 8th season production never resumed, and when the show returned for the 9th season, Ashton Kutcher had taken over Sheen's role. Kutcher played a new character named Walden Schmidt, an internet billionaire who bought Charlie Harper's beach house. Charlie Harper was said to have died in Paris after falling on the subway tracks and being hit by a train. His body was described as having exploded like a balloon full of meat, which was a rather crude and morbid way to bid farewell to the character. The show's 9th season had a new plotline, which involved Alan and Jake living with Schmidt in Charlie's old beach house. But in a bizarre turn of events, Charlie made a surprise resurrection at the end of the season, played by Kathy Bates, who explained that his eternal damnation involved being trapped in an old broad's body. In the show's final episode, Charlie makes a surprise return to his home. But in the concluding moments of the show, a falling piano crushed him, with a substitute actor playing the role of Sheen throughout the sequence. The ending was bizarre, but there was a reason for it. Apparently, the show's creator, Chuck Lorre, and the producers wanted Sheen to return and reprise his character. In Lorre's last message during the show's credits, it was disclosed that Sheen was offered a role in the series finale. In the scene, he would address drug abuse risks with a twist of humor, claiming immunity as a ninja warrior from Mars. The scene would then conclude with Sheen's character meeting his demise under a falling piano. The crew thought it was funny, but Sheen did not. Rather, he requested that Lorre create a scenario that would pave the way for his comeback to primetime TV through a sitcom called The Harpers, featuring him and Jon Cryer. Lorre said in an interview for the New York Times that he never personally spoke with Sheen about inviting him to come back. 2 executive producers were in touch with Sheen. But after watching the episode, it's easy to see why Sheen didn't want to come back. The entire episode appears to be one giant dig at the actor. It was clear Sheen was not amused and that his relationship with Lorre and the show's producers was strained. In the end, the show went on without him, and while the finale was bizarre, it marked the end of a 12-season run that had entertained millions. Addressing the finale and his grudge against Chuck Lorre. Years after his departure from the show, Sheen still harbors intense feelings of distaste for Chuck Lorre. In a 2017 interview with Kiss FM's Kyle and Jackie O show, Sheen went on an expletive-laden rant directed at Lorre, urging the producer to go to hell, while calling him vulgar names. Sheen claimed he'd made $4 billion for Warner Brothers, and that if he had made $5 billion, they would have killed him. Sheen has a long history of publicly criticizing Lorre. In 2015, TMZ obtained a video where Sheen threatened Lorre, suggesting that the show's creator must feel safe where he lives to have killed off Sheen's character. In an 8-minute online broadcast after his dismissal, Sheen called Lorre a little worm and an ugly weasel. He's accused him of being a fraud and an imposter, suggesting he has a desperate need to be liked and a hatred of himself and of women. He's also referred to Lorre's smile as bitchy and joked that his name rhymes with suck and muck. Despite his dismissal from the show, Sheen has continued to work in Hollywood, though he's never reached the same level of fame or success. Regrets. In a recent interview with Yahoo Entertainment, Charlie expressed his regret about his past behavior, particularly surrounding his public meltdown in 2011. He reflected on how people have expressed to him they thought his antics were cool and fun to watch, but Sheen now realizes he made a mistake by prioritizing his wild behavior over his career and personal life. He even went as far as to say he traded in his early retirement for a meaningless hashtag. He admitted his drug use and the aftermath of those choices, including an ocean of stress and a volcano of disdain, led to his public meltdown. He also shared a story about how former CBS CEO Les Moonves once offered him the Warner jet, but not for a luxurious vacation. He wanted him to fly to a rehab facility. Sheen now recognizes he should have taken the offer. While Sheen acknowledges he made a mistake and acted juvenile, he also takes responsibilities for his actions and looks towards his future. He referred to his past as his melt forward and sees it as an opportunity for growth. Megan Fox. The stunning Megan Fox has been wowing audiences with her good looks and flawless smile for years, with a breakout turn in Transformers, so she naturally turned heads as she portrayed Berta's granddaughter Prudence on 2.5 Men. It likely wasn't a huge surprise watching as both Charlie and Alan went gaga over Prudence. After all, not many men can resist Megan in real life, so why should these sitcom characters be any different? The plot dictated that both men realized the potential fallout from falling for Prudence, so they stopped chasing after her. But that, of course, led to Jake falling head over heels for Prudence and deciding he'd follow her around wherever she went. Sadly for fans of Megan, we didn't get to see more of her after this memorable guest spot. Denise Richards. If you're familiar with Denise Richards, then you know she has a long history with one of the show's stars, Charlie Sheen. So it came as no surprise when Denise began to pop up across several episodes. She played Lisa, a woman who gets together with Charlie for most of season 1. Sadly, they ultimately broke up due to Charlie having commitment issues. This was perhaps a telling sign of things to come in real life, but that's probably for a different video. But season 1 isn't the last time we see Lisa. She arrives back on the scene in season 2, revealing to Charlie she's now engaged. And because this is a sitcom, instead of reacting like a normal person, Charlie decides to totally pretend he's a changed man to win her back. He's somewhat successful in that Lisa decides to break things off with her fiancé, but then the two of them split again for familiar reasons. Richards is of course known as a prominent and beautiful actress who's had a multitude of roles over the years, including in Starship Troopers and the James Bond movie The World Is Not Enough. She's also been in classic shows like Friends and Seinfeld. In more recent years, she's been a prominent figure in the reality show world, even getting her own one called Denise Richards, It's Complicated. Brooke Shields. Brooke Shields has been a successful actress since she was a teen. She starred in movies like The Blue Lagoon and had a successful modeling career as a youngster as well. She's also one of those rare actors who managed to have huge success as a child, managed to survive the rigors of Hollywood, and come out as a well-adjusted adult. Not only that, but she's had an even bigger career as an adult than she did as a child star. She joined 2.5 Men for season 4, playing Danielle Stewart. Danielle was a neighbor to the Harpers, and naturally both Charlie and Alan managed to fall in love with her. At first, she decides to date Alan. This is because she's hoping his more down-to-earth personality will be the cure for her wild and rambunctious tendencies, which have burned her in the past. Of course, this rambunctious side is exactly what Charlie is into. So he decides to step in and argue with Alan over which one of them deserves to date her. Not surprisingly, Danielle ends up taking a pass on both brothers. In recent years, Brooke Shields has appeared in TV shows like Law & Order and Army Wives, as well as in movies like The Other Guys and Furry Vengeance. Steph, for most notable credits, are roles in Alex Cross, Terminator, The Sarah Connor Chronicles, and Battlestar Galactica: Razor in 2007. J.J. Snyder.
J.J. Snyder wowed audiences with her appearance in Season 8 of the show. She appeared in Episode 13 playing a woman named Terry. Born in 1972, J.J. also appeared in another classic multicam sitcom, Two Broke Girls. She was also in 2010's On the Red Carpet, as well as America's Most Wanted, America Fights. This video is brought to you by Vite Ramen.
Vite Ramen is a small family-owned business crafting high-protein ramen in small batches here in the U.S. Their dream is to make it so everyone can eat healthy no matter what challenges a person faces. And with Vite Ramen, you're never too busy to eat healthy. It's easy to make and only takes 3 minutes. So in just a few minutes, you have a super meal that tastes great and is actually good for you. Vite Ramen is a full meal, not the tiny packets that leave you hungry after an hour. It keeps you full for hours because of its nutritional density, high protein, and high fiber. Our favorite flavor is chicken. We love how quickly this meal comes together and can't get over how great it tastes. Click the link below to get a bundle that gives you $25 in value of free gifts and free shipping in the contiguous U.S. And don't forget to use my code FAXVERSE at checkout for an additional 10% off. That's viteramen.com/FaxVerse, or just click the link below and use the code FAXVERSE.
Anna Easteden. Anna Easteden showed her stuff in Season 8 as well, in the same episode that J.J. Snyder appeared in. She played a character named Wanda. Anna is another actress who brought an international flair to the show, as she was born in Finland to a Finnish farming family. But she became a successful model and received a big modeling contract from a Japanese agency when she was a teen. She then added acting to her list of talents and moved to LA. Some other notable credits of Anna's include roles on Bones and Days of Our Lives, as well as Who Wants to Be a Superhero. She was also the host of the Finnish version of the Fox show Wipeout, and she looked flawless when she appeared on 2.5 Men. Valerie M. Ortiz. Valerie graced the screen in the show in Season 8. She played Hot Girl at the Bar in Episode 12. And while the producers didn't see fit to give her character a name, we're sure she was a lovely person with a full life. Valerie was born in Puerto Rico, but spent her childhood in Orlando, Florida. She was a dancer as a youngster, and then added in stage acting as she grew older. She attended the University of Central Florida. She started out in the hosting world, working for the Nickelodeon show Splat, as well as LA TV Live in Los Angeles. She then played Jello in the movie Date Movie, where her character was a J-Lo impersonator. Her other credits include roles in Hit the Floor, South of Nowhere, and Gabby Duran and the Unsittables. Desi Lydic. Fans of The Daily Show will certainly be familiar with this beautiful and funny actress. She appeared in Season 8, playing Veronica in Episode 12. Lydic is originally from Louisville, born in 1981. She's been a correspondent for several years for The Daily Show, getting to show off her comedic chops to go along with her gorgeous looks. In addition to 2.5 Men, she's also appeared in productions like Awkward and We Bought a Zoo. She got married to her husband, actor Gannon Brousseau, in 2014, and they have one child together. Diora Baird. Diora Baird appeared in an episode of the show in the 6th season. She played Wanda in episode 16. Originally from Miami, Baird is a successful actress and model. After moving to LA at age 17, she found success at first as a model, appearing in a Guess clothing campaign and gracing the pages of Maxim magazine's Hot 100 lists in 2007 and 2008. She was also on the cover of Playboy in 2005. She has a slew of acting credits to her name, including roles in Cobra Kai, Wedding Crashers, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Emily Rose. Emily Rose appeared on the show as Janine in the 12th episode of Season 6. She's perhaps best known for her role as Audrey Parker from Haven, a show on Sci-Fi. That and her role as Elena Fisher in the PlayStation series of games called Uncharted. But she's also graced the screens of shows like Cold Case, Brothers and Sisters, as well as Ghost Whisperers. Now it's time to hear from you. Did we miss any of your favorite sexy guest stars on 2.5 Men? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to FaxVerse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.